Welcome to the URL Hot Lap presented by Kingsport Tire and Auto Care Center. I'm Al Smith, driver of the number 96 MP Roy Incorporated Ford Fusion. Sitting to my left is the number 20 multi-sponsored Ford Fusion of Justin McDuff, the BC Strong. Number 19 of AJ Bunch, and the highest in the points rankings so far this season, driver of the VermontFantasy.com, or as he would like me to say, the VT FantasyRacing.com, and Arts Barbershop number 18 of AJ Hamill. Guys, how you doing? We took a week off. We're back, and we have a lot to go over tonight.
So that's a little confusing. Highest of the four of us.
Well, you are
we don't want people scrambling to the standings confused.
Well, you know. See, we've already started, and he's already picking on me. It's been this way since we got off the racetrack on Thursday night. But anyway, we got Iowa to go over, and then we have last week's race at Lucas Oil to go over. But let's start off. How you guys been?
I'm doing pretty well, Al. Thanks for having me here tonight. Thursday night wasn't a good night for us. Brought back a crumpled piece of tin, basically, but ready to go on to New Smyrna. Happy to be here and ready to talk about some racing.
All right. Well, let's start off. We had our first race of the season 2 weeks ago at the Iowa Speedway for the Lay Enterprises MP Roy Inc. 100 lid lifter, and it was a fairly competitive race. We had Stefan Marinak set in the pole time. It wasn't quite a new track record, but he definitely put on a good time with CJ Laverde, who was outside to start the race. And it was a fairly clean race. We went the first 40 laps before I believe it was Mr. Bunch got into a little trouble with the 99 of Eric Hagg. But the first part of the race was very intense. A lot of runs on there. Hamill, you were up front most of the first segment of the race. Talk about the racing and how intense it was.
I was. That was pretty neat. I followed you around for 45 laps. We kind of worked our way into the top 5, and we were working on another one when the yellow came out. The first 45 was actually pretty tame when it sorted itself out. I think guys were aware that they were going to have to use their tires for quite a while. And everybody was just so even. You know, you were stuck with your track position and could make incremental gains and hope that somebody screwed up in front of you.
It was that way, and Marinak Laverde jumped out to the race lead with Fuller, and then Fuller took down the fence. But let's talk about the first incident with you, Mr. Banana Man. Looked like just a little bit of disagreements on real estate between you and Eric Hagg there that ended up taking you out for the night. But glad that you are all right. But that was a hard lick you took.
Yeah, we both kind of went into the corner, and I pretty much held my line, and Eric got tight. It is what it is. Eric apologized after the race, and he felt really bad. So, I mean, I'm not mad at him, but it was disappointing to kind of go head first in the wall, knowing that I had a car that could have actually gotten up there and could have competed for something.
And at that point, that was the first chance anybody had time to go down pit road, and a lot of mixed strategy. I know myself, McDuff and Hamill stayed out on older tires. Some guys took some 2 tires strategy, and a lot of people took their 4 tires that were in the pits. We went back green racing. I was screaming because I went from the outside of the front row to about 20th in a matter of a couple laps there, and it looked like it was going to go green until the 4 of Cal Frenier and Eric Hagg and Paul Fugate get involved in the second and the last yellow of the night, and that allowed us to get our tires. But it was put us deep in there, and we ended up coming back up through there pretty well. Hamill, you did pretty well coming up through there. We all really restarted deep. Justin, you ended up coming home in the 7th position. Talk about that last run after the last yellow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. White knuckle racing there. Those last that last little stint. Ada and Odo, I know they took their second 2 tires because they took 2 in the first stop, and they were kind of leading the way, and we were all snaking up through there. And then the guys in the old tires were trying to maintain and then gain more track position for themselves. So it was pretty crazy there, making some big moves and just trying not to make any contact with anyone. But we were all able to get up through there and come home with some solid finishes after it didn't look so good for us there about the 3/4 mark of the race.
No, I remember screaming on the team radio with Hamill, "Well, we're done. We're screwed. We've messed ourselves up there." And yeah, I think Justin was the only one that kept us pretty much sane there, Hamill.
I don't know what you're talking about, Al. I never give up.
Well, I was about ready to just pull it in the pit road and take the 4 tires underneath green because that was ugly. But coming up through, we end up doing pretty good. So taking a look at your top 10 finishers from Delay Enterprises MP Roy 100 at the Iowa Speedway, Stefan Marinak, who picked up the pole, ended up winning, and CJ Lever would come home in your number 2 spot. Brandon Odo picking up the Hag TV Hard Charger Award would finish 3rd after he started 18th. Nicholas Rasmussen was 4th. John Ada coming home in the 5th spot. AJ Hamill finishing in your number 6 spot, followed by Justin McDuff and
Guillaume.
finishing 8th, our Quebec competitor, Guillaume Fortin.
There it is.
With finished 8th, followed by myself, Al Smith, and another rookie contender, Jason Stenney, rounding out the top 10. One big surprise there was Justin Fuller, who didn't really have a good night. He started 3rd and ended up 18th after having some contact with the wall. So, was there any other big standouts that you thought or that you saw that were kind of impressive in how we finished at Iowa Speedway?
I say if you look at the results as the biggest surprise. Well, there aren't any big surprises there. Everybody, considering where the tires were taken, belonged. I mean, in the top 10, everybody, our top 10 cars there. Obviously, Fuller knocking down the wall and fixing his damage and going down a lap at one point. I think he did anyway. Is big, but pretty standard event, I think.
I would say, well, first of all, I realize that Al is not a Mountain Dew fan. And then second of all, I would say that I give a shout out to CJ Lever and Stefan Marinak. Those guys, they were fast last year. I think CJ won a few races, but that was Stefan's first win. And he battled pretty hard with Fuller in the early stages. And then I think he went 70 laps of the 100. So it's a pretty strong run for that team. To me, that kind of shows that they mean business and that they're going to be competitive all year long.
It definitely was, and it was a good race. We only had the 2 yellows, and out of 100 laps, and then we look back at last season, it wasn't as good of a race. I saw a lot of give and take. I saw a lot of side-by-side racing up through the field. And, yeah, I kind of cracked the old Mountain Dew can open on Brian Rogers coming up through the field there. It was just a tough deal. I feel bad for that. So, Brian, sorry about that. Send me some sheet metal. I'll get it wrapped for you.
Yeah, that was a tough incident. Don't be too hard on yourself. It looked like, Brian and Bruce got close, and then all of a sudden he's in front of you. Kind of like with those fools today. Hamlin and Keselowski. It was one of those things happen fast.
Yep, I agree. So we left Iowa 2 weeks ago, and we took the 6-hour, 9-minute drive, which is 426 miles back to the southeast to the Lucas Oil Speedway in Indiana, where it was round 2 of 16 for the Lay Enterprises MP Roy Inc. Pro Late Model Series, and it was the Kingsport Tire Auto and Care Center 100 at the Lucas Oil Speedway. It was a pretty good night. We had 19 drivers taking down the old track record that was held by Cody Kelly, and it was a pretty good race, I thought, for the first 25 laps, and then I think the whole thing of the breeding cautions took over, but it was pretty good, and it was Justin Fuller who would take the new track record in qualifying, running a 22.294, which is equal to about 110 almost 111 miles an hour. So that's getting around there, guys. Seeing that the old track record was a little over 0.6 of a second slower than the new track record.
I would say that's hauling the mail.
So we take and look at this the Kingsport Tire and Auto Care Center 100 from the Lucas Oil Speedway. Justin Fuller would pretty much dominate the race, leading all 100 laps. So what a dominant performance! A nice rebound from the week earlier at Lucas Oil Speedway or at Iowa Speedway. Were you guys kind of impressed with that? It was our first race with no tires in the pits, and that kind of I thought played a little bit into the strategy and how aggressive people were early. Hamill, what's your thoughts?
Well, no offense to Fuller, but him leading 100 laps with no tires is pretty much, I guess, what I would have expected. Nice job by him. He was the fast car, and he pulled it off without any mistakes. Looking through the results, I did see some things that very nice rebounds, like you were talking about for Fuller. Dale O'Neill was very impressive, driving from 8th to 3rd. And if you watch on the broadcast, he and John Ada really stood out to me as guys that could make it work down low. And most of us needed to pass up high or take it really easy on the bottom. But Dale and John really stood out. It's unfortunate John didn't get a chance to grab the finish.
Yeah, he would get caught up in some late, or about a little bit past halfway towards the end of the race, with just a little miscalculation between him and the 54 of Charlie Ryan down the front stretch. But he was able to muster and came back with a 12th place finish. So that was a nice little rebound, even though in the trouble early. I look at a lot of guys really moving up through the field. We had Eric Hag, who started 16th. He made his way up inside the top 10 by the end of the race. I thought there was, I expected our first short track race to have a little bit of contact and having some issues. And I don't think I was disappointed with that. With what I thought was going to happen. Unfortunately, it was what happened, and but overall, I thought everybody kind of gave and take a little bit with no tires in the pits. It's kind of hard if you have that bad qualifying run to try to make up ground with using pit strategy or whatnot. But I ran mid pack most of the race, and I thought the racing was good. I ran side by side for multiple laps with multiple different drivers, and it was pretty good racing, I thought. And then just once some cars got some damage, they became a handful to hold on to, and I think that was what really led to a lot of the cautions. I know that Hamill, you were involved with a three wide situation really early on in the race that didn't bring out a yellow. You rebounded nicely, I think, a couple times that race. Tell us about how the Kingsport Tire 100 went for you.
Oh, man. Only 3 driver errors by the 18 driver. So I guess that's less than 4. I need to apologize to Kevin Baker because I was watching the replay or the broadcast this afternoon, and apparently I sent him around later in the race, and I didn't even know it. At the time I thought he had come down or somebody punted him from behind, but it turned out it was me. So sorry about that, Kevin. I hope you come back and know we don't always treat everybody that way. But yeah, I was trying to follow John through the field. Didn't really have the speed that I'd hoped, but was okay in traffic. And Stefan Marinak decided he wanted to duck 3 wide, and I tried to get around off the turn, and I came a little too low, and I came across his nose. And my nose was facing on the inner wall, and the yellow didn't come out. So I had to back it up and just hope for a yellow, which I caught. Restarted 26th, made up a bunch of spots, and then later got out of control again because the car got really loose after the contact with Kevin. And eventually just kind of, it was an attrition finish. I certainly didn't earn 9th. Al, you got taken out. That was 2 spots. Justin got taken out. That was 2 more spots. Not the best race, but I'll take the top 9 finish.
I was just going to mention Justin McDuff. Justin, Not the night that your team was looking for, hoping to continue the momentum from Iowa, but the night kind of went downhill early after contact between you and the 26 of Dylan Gaudette, which Dylan came up on the mic as soon as it happened and took responsibility and apologized for that. But after that, you sat in the pits for quite a while, got the car fixed, came back out, and we're making up some ground just from based on what was going on the racetrack. But then at the end of the night, ended up getting taken out. But tough night for you. But overall, what were your thoughts of the race at Lucas Oil?
Well, to touch upon what you guys were talking about when we first started talking about Lucas Oil, I think the big thing was that I took away from Lucas Oil going in. I knew it, but then I really realized it once the race started was just how important qualifying would be. And unfortunately, the driver, the number 20, didn't do his job, and we got caught. I think qualified 14th or 15th. And I realized pretty early that passing was going to be tough. There was a few guys that could do it. I know Hamill mentioned Ada and O'Neill. Those guys could just cut down to the bottom and pass at will. It almost seemed like. But for myself, I early on I realized that was going to be tough, and then I wish I would have qualified just a hair better. So that's something that we got to work on. But yeah, in regards to the incident with Dylan originally, it was right after a restart, and the restarts were so intense because everyone was just trying to get to the top as quick as they could because you didn't want to be on the bottom for long. You could run it for a few laps, but if you stayed down there too long, it was like you almost overheated your right front or your right rear, and the car just wouldn't do what you needed it to do. So Dylan and I just made a little bit of contact, and like you said, he came right over the mic and apologized, which was pretty classy of him. I appreciate that because not a lot of people, not everyone does that and claims responsibility for the incident. And then, yeah, the team did a really good job fixing the car. I was just as fast as I was before when I got back out on the track, and just got caught up in another deal there. It's just part of racing, I guess. You have your bad nights, you have your good nights. So we'll move on and see what we got going forward.
It definitely was. I saved my tires. Hamill went by me like I was standing still earlier, and he comes on and he goes, I think you're taking it a little bit too easy, and I think he was right. As I went almost to 20th at one point in the race and started making my way back up, and one of those late race restarts, I was racing pretty hard with Charlie Ryan, and uh, I've run with Charlie for many years now, and I felt pretty comfortable running next to him, and we just misjudged coming off turn 4, sent us both to the back of the pack, which kind of really was messed up. But ended both of our good runs out of a top 10. But at the same time, we had a little bit of a on race incident that resulted in a tier 2 penalty. So the admin team and the driver council came up with that decision, and it's unfortunate to see that stuff happening so early. But it was a very frustrating night. Justin, you were involved in a couple incidents. Same with, I think everybody had contact with something at some point, whether it was the wall or someone else. So tempers did boil in, but it was unfortunate that the admin team and the driver council had to take and go to work. So hopefully that'll be the last time they have to go to work this season. But looking at the top 10 results for the Kingsport Tire and Auto Care Center 100 from Lucas Oil Speedway, it was Justin Fuller leading all 100 laps in dominating fashion with his atomic sign wraps, number 51, picking up the win. Brandon Odo would come home in your number 2 spot. Dale O'Neill would finish third. Jason Stenney, the top 9 Shiza Autos Club Rookie of the Year contender, finishing in the 4th spot. Brian Rogers would finish 5th, followed by Eric Hagg, Stefan Marinac, Nicholas Rasmussen, AJ Hamill, and Guillaume Fortin rounding out the top 10. So a couple of rookies inside the top 10 2 weeks in a row. Those guys are definitely. I knew our rookie class was going to be tough, but Jason Stenney and Fortin have really, really impressed me so far early this season. Another one that's been impressive, just haven't gotten the finishes or have gotten in trouble, have been Eric Spencer, Paul Fugate, and Alex Oriens. But those guys have seen not quite figure out qualifying yet, and been in trouble, not to their doings.
Yeah, Fugate actually qualified second, I believe. So he was right up there in the beginning of the race, and I think he had contact with the wall or something because he came back I think right around that lap 40 caution, wherever it came out, close to halfway. I remember he fell back. I mean, Lucas Oil was just a tough race, tough racetrack. I mean, the way it races was just so difficult. So especially if you're a rookie and you've never been there, I can imagine just how much more difficult it is. I know a lot of us had the benefit of running the approval series to get a few laps there, but I think for the most part, a lot of those guys did really well at Iowa. So that's pretty cool to see, and hopefully they're able to keep it up.
Yeah, so the first two races in the books. Hamill, anything sticking out in your mind right now after the first two races as we look forward to the third one? But let's finish up and we'll talk about the point standings. But what's really sticking out so far early this season after the first two races?
Well, first to cap off the last race, I want to give some credit to Brian Rogers for his top five. A nice comeback after Iowa. I noticed while I was watching the show, he was fifth, he was eighth, he was seventh. You know, it was all over every restart. Those guys, he and Hag and Stenny and O'Neill were passing the spots back and forth. Very nice top five finish for him. And Fortin also, that's his second top 10 in two races.
Yeah, definitely a big shout out to both Brian Rogers and Eric Hag, who both had trouble at Iowa bouncing back tough this week with top 10 finishes. So I will definitely give kudos and jump on your congratulations to them with that finish. Looking at the tenths of Champlain point standings, it is Brandon Odo with two top five finishes this season, who has the points lead with 85 points. Stefan Marinak sits second, 1 point back. Nicholas Rasmussen, rookie Jason Stenny sits fourth. Dal O'Neill is fifth in the points. Justin Fuller jumps up to sixth in the point standings, 11 markers behind Brandon Odo. AJ Hamill sits seventh. John Ada eighth. Guillaume Fortin is ninth. Dylan Gaudet is 10th. Brian Rogers Jr. is 11th. And Al Smith Jr. rounding out if the 12th spot if the chase was to start tomorrow. CJ Lever sits 13th, 2 points out of the top 12. Justin McDuff, Eric Hag, and James McIntyre rounding out the top 16 in points. And as I look down through it, I mean, you have Justin McDuff, Eric Hag, rookie Mike McIntyre. You got some big names that are outside the top 12 right now that are on the outside looking. I know we're only two races in so far, but it's going to be very tough to make the chase this year, I feel, Bunch.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be tough. Our 19 team's kind of behind the eight ball because we had hauler issues and couldn't make the race last week. So we're down there quite a ways, but it's gonna be a grind for everybody because somebody's gonna get in trouble here or there, and you're just gonna have to be able to capitalize on it. I think it's just gonna be a battle of who can consistently have the top tens, top fives, and who can keep their car clean and get those extra bonus points.
Al, can I answer your previous question?
Sure.
The word that sticks out to me after two races is parity. I mean, other than Fuller and Odo, who we expect at the top every week, you got there's six of us with two top tens, but the front part of the field in both races has been mostly shuffled up, which is pretty cool to see. It's hard to finish high in this league, which is a lot of talent, and so far it's being proven out with the first two results.
I will definitely agree with you on that one. Hamill is when it comes to the talent pool, I think anywhere from from 25th, not to discredit any of our racers. I mean, I just feel like anybody that really shows up on a race night has a chance to win. I know Fuller's been dominant, Nicholas Rasmussen's been dominant, Odo's had, I don't think he finished outside the top three between the two races. So I mean, he's definitely one to keep an eye on. And I think at any moment you're going to have to put a string of finishes together if you want to make the chase this season. We are 9 races already away from the chase deadline. It's hard to believe that, and it's quite a big undertaking. And you've taken a big undertaking. Is if you guys check out the upstateracingleague.com, we've moved everything in-house, all of the results, and we got some pretty cool enhancements coming up that we can't talk about. But phase 1 of 3 is done, and I got to give you a bunch of kudos on that one, Hamill. You've been working your tail off on that, so thank you for taking the challenge on of moving all that stuff in-house.
No problem. I was going to ask you if you were looking at this wonderful tents of Champlain point standings at upstateracingleague.com as you were going over the points.
I am, and it's it's nice. We got a nice thing where it shows behind the chase, which was a brainchild of Justin McDuff. I remember you said that he has asked, "Hey, that'd be pretty cool if you could show how far below the chase cut people are," and you made it happen overnight, like a snap of your fingers. So I think that's pretty cool, and it shows CJ Lavere only 2 points outside the top 12 right now, and Justin, you are 3 points out as we head down to New Smyrna Speedway for the second race in a row, sponsored by our friends in Tennessee, the Kingsport Tire and Auto Care Center, as we travel 992 miles to the Sunshine State before we get a week off. So it's we're down there. The power hasn't been restored, but the grandstands and the wall have all been fixed, new catch fences, so they tell us we will be ready to go for this coming Thursday at the New Smyrna Speedway, and it's a day race. It's our first chance that we're going to see the B mains happening, where the top 20 and time trials will get locked in this Thursday night, and then the rest of the field will have to duke it out in a 35-lap B main to lock in the final positions. We do have some champions provisionals available if they are needed. Brandon Odo and Justin Fuller each get 2 this season for any of the races that they need them for. So looking ahead to the New Smyrna Speedway, that it's going to be a little bit slick, but I think it'll be a good race. No tires in the pits this week once again. What is going to be the key to getting a good finish there, Justin?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's going to be another tough race. A lot of these rookies, I mean, it's going to be the toughest of conditions. It's going to be slick. It's going to be daytime. You know what I mean? It's going to be slick, and you're going to have to save your tires at the same time. You got to try to run a quick pace because you got such a high level of competition. For guys like myself who are currently on the outside looking in because we had a bad race in the first 2, you just got to kind of survive and try to come out of there with the best finish you can without digging yourself any deeper. So it's going to be interesting. I know CJ, he ran second in Iowa and he didn't make the call. They had issues with the starter in the car or something, and he wasn't able to get out there to race last Thursday night. So that was a big hit for him as well. But I mean, you can expect some more fluctuation in those chase standings. So we'll see what happens.
I know this is one of my more favorite tracks. I don't ever really run that well down at New Smyrna, but I like getting down there and getting a little bit of the sun rays and some warm weather. Hamill, I know in the short time, this is your second season with us, but this hasn't been one of your, let's put it lightly, favorite tracks. But you've gotten a little bit more improvement, but definitely been doing some testing. What's it going to take to save the tires, you think? And you think track position will be key, or you think you can get some guys that can definitely move up through the field?
Man, I wish I was the one to ask. I've got a 7th in the season finale last year, and if I turn left instead of right with TJ Graves' spinning car, I'm finishing 4th. But it wasn't because I was lightning fast. It was an attrition race, and then the approval series pulled out a 5th and hoisted that giant heavy trophy you handed out with one hand because it was not big and heavy. But again, not because I was fast, but because I just waited some guys out. But those were night races, and daytime and I don't always get along. Stafford, yes, but not so far at New Smyrna. It's slippery. The front end shoves, the back end's loose. I think it's going to be, what did Fuller say last week? You got to drive it tonight. It's going to be one of those kind of days. You got to be soft on the throttle and really put the effort in. But track position will be key, but I still think there's going to be a lot of comers and goers in this one.
Bunch, your team is hoping to make it down there for this week's 125 lap event. Um, you've been starting shotgun almost every week that you've shown up, and what's it going to take to get up through the field? And do you think there will be uh, a lot of wrecks, or do you think the conditions will make people race the track instead of race each other, or do you think there'll just be those incidental contacts that cause a little bit of mayhem for some people?
Barring any issues with the hauler again, I think we'll be there. I love coming from the back and just coming up to the field. At Iowa, I was on the move until that incident happened. But here, I think it's gonna be just people need to be patient and race the track. I mean, there's gonna be those people who accidentally get tight or loose and get up into somebody and spin them, and it might cause a 3 or 4 car wreck. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see if people can manhandle the car out of a spin, or what this loose track will be able to do for people. I personally think it's going to be fun because I love driving loose cars on tracks because it's always up to the driver. It's not up to whoever can just putz around there the best.
I think with the dynamic track too, a lot with the amount of cars, and we're limiting the field to 25 cars this week. Um, I think that'll definitely play in the hands. You're gonna have some people that are gonna crack underneath that pressure of trying to make the show or sitting out for the week. Um, but with the dynamic track and the amount of and the rubber, I think you're gonna see the cars in multiple grooves all over the place trying to gain that grip, because I think after just a few laps, once everybody gets strung out, it's going to turn into, it's going to be hard to find that grip. It's going to be whoever has the best throttle control and doesn't overdrive the car will be going forward for this week's 125 lap main event at the new Smyrna Speedway. It definitely is going to be one of those races that you're going to want to tune in for on Thursday night at 9:30 on our friends at LSR TV is going to be bringing it to us once again. This is our third week, and then we have an off week. So this week is one of those setup weeks where you want to either have a good run into the off week to build some momentum, or you're going to take that week and go home and have to repair some cars. I know, Justin, you're looking forward to having an off week, but we got to get through New Smyrna.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a nice solid run at New Smyrna, and then it'd be nice to head into the off week with some momentum, and then we head to USA. So that's 2 very good tracks for this number 20 team. So we'll see what we can do. I was fortunate enough to get a win in one of the approval races at New Smyrna, so it's a good track for me, and I'm excited to get down there. And like I said, just trying to get the ship steered in the right direction after a disastrous week last Thursday.
Now, is your team staying down there for the week? Because we're going to be in New Smyrna, then we're going to bounce over to Lakeland, Florida. Are you guys staying down there? Are you guys coming back to New York, then going back down? What's the plans with the number 20 team?
We're going to keep a few guys down there. I like to keep my cards close to my chest on that. So they're going to be working on some stuff down there for USA in the off week. We got a few guys, and then majority of people will be heading back up to New York.
All right. Well, it sounds good. As always, we want to thank our friends at Kingsport Tire and Auto Care Center. It's a place you can trust with your complete car cares, and it's been owned and operated locally in Kingsport, Tennessee since 1998. They offer comfortable waiting areas with clean and well-stocked bathroom facilities. One of our usual host is in Martinsville today, taking in the late model race there for the Virginia 300. But he's an ASE certified technician to help operate the business with their honesty and integrity. 2 qualities our owner Larry Buckner prides himself in, and their motto is "We advise, you decide." So as a customer of there, I can tell you that they don't steer you in the wrong direction. They also have all sorts of tires, name brand tires that you can choose from: Goodyear, Dunlop, and Kelly. and they have a large inventory in stock. If they don't have what you need, in most cases they can get it quickly, usually within a few hours or a very next day. In order to go the extra mile with our customers, we provide service warranties and have financing options available, as well as servicing national accounts. That's our friends at Kingsport Tire and Auto Care Center in Kingsport, Tennessee. So if you're in the area, stop down by and tell them that the URL sent you. But boys, I think it's time to head out for the long drive down to New Smyrna Speedway, as we are going to be kicking off the third week already. It's hard to believe that we're already going to be 3 races in to this 16 race season. So this week we are going to be taking the Kingsport Tire and Auto Care Center 125 at the New Smyrna Speedway under the hot sun at the New Smyrna Beach, Florida. And it should be a good race. But that's going to wrap up our show tonight. The checkered flags have flown. Let's like to thank Justin McDuff, AJ Bunch, and AJ Hamill for stepping in the studio. And we'll see you on the track.